Hey gang, Ted Gravlin with today's Tedcast, and the topic for today is business planning. How do you create a business plan for a company that's trying to move forward to the next level? And there's several parts to a business plan, at least the way that I do it, and it has to cover the things over here on my little list. So you gotta have an understanding of your numbers first, and I'll give you an example here today in our presentation, in the Tedcast, of how the numbers all interlock with all of these things. So I'm going to show you in a minute. But you have to have an understanding of your numbers because that's where it all starts. I can look at the numbers I have here, and I can tell an awful lot of stuff about a company from that, how the rest of this is going. So the understanding the numbers meaning, what's your real profit and loss? What's your balance sheet look like? How are you doing? And when I say numbers, it's not just financial. Sometimes the numbers are marketing numbers, like how many closing ratio and average ticket and things like, what's your cost to acquire a customer. You have to understand those things. Most business owners that I'm talking to are guys who are techs, and you're trying to move towards business skills. These are the skills you didn't have when you started your business because you're pretty good at fixing air conditioners like me, and then eventually, like me, you need to learn all the stuff that's the business part of stuff so that you can end up with a company that's running and thriving and running without you having to be there every 5 seconds and without working 90 hours a week. So starting with numbers, and then that leads to pricing. What's your pricing strategy going to be, and how are you setting prices? If you're not doing it the right way, then you end up with you have made choices by doing your pricing that are going to lead you down one path or another. And in fact, your pricing is part of your marketing strategy. You also have to have a sales process. The sales process for a lot of companies is, hey, the owner's just good at selling stuff. Well, that's nice, but you have to build it into a process that you can duplicate so that you can get other folks to do it so that you don't have to do it all the time by yourself. And sales process does not necessarily mean, and I don't believe in this, it doesn't mean that you create a high-pressure sales script. What it means is that you create a process where if this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, then customers will buy from us more often than not. So then we're going to make those things happen on purpose, and we're going to train it, and we're going to practice it, and we're going to get better at it and keep improving it. Marketing, where are you going to find customers? Who do you want? Who don't you want? Which customers are the ones for you? Which business sectors are good for you? Do you want to be in new construction or commercial or residential or replacement or service or all the different things? And you have to make choices about that. Most of the time, it's tougher to do certain sectors than others, especially for those guys starting out, and especially if you don't have deep pockets. Give an example of that. If you're doing a lot of new construction, it costs a lot of money to rough in a house and get it all done, and the builder you're working with has 10 more of them for you to do or whatever, and you haven't got paid for the first one yet because of the way that they pay out to you. So now you have to have deep enough pockets to keep doing these jobs to eventually see a profit down the road, as long as the builder still does what he's supposed to do and pays you, because you suddenly got a six-figure receivables there, meaning money owed to you that you don't have yet. And on paper, you've made a lot of money, but you don't have any cash, and now you got payroll on Friday. This is a tough business to be in for a lot of smaller, newer companies that don't have the resources to be able to do it well. That doesn't mean you can't make money at it, but man, if you don't know what you're doing, you make mistakes, and it's got lots of zeros on the end of it. So, marketing, meaning which business segments are you going after, what's your messaging to them, which, by the way, ties back into numbers and pricing. The pricing you do sends a marketing message, whether you know it or not. It's part of what you're talking about, and you don't even have to have it be a blatant message, but hey, if you have a really cheap price, you're telling the marketplace, hey guys, we're cheap. So that's a marketing thing. Come to us if you want to pay as little as possible, and that's a message. By the way, most people's marketing message really sucks because they don't have one. Their message is something like, hey, I'm going to get my name out there, and what that tells me is that you're saying to the marketplace, here, call me someday whenever you need me. I hope you do someday. But you're really not having a message that says why they should do that or when they should do that or any of those things. Getting into planning for how to build a marketing message. You have to have a plan for recruiting and training. This is a big one. Everyone's complaining that they can't find technicians, but the problem is everyone's looking for the same guy, and they're looking for a guy that's just like them. Hey, I was a really good tech. I could install stuff. I knew everything about everything. I could sell stuff to customers. I could run the whole darn thing. Well, that's a unicorn. You're not going to find those guys over and over and over again, especially as you grow to larger numbers. You're never going to get, a dozen of those guys every year. So you have to start to learn how to recruit the right kind of folks and train them so that you can build those in the aggregate. Meaning, if you're an owner and you're good at sales and you're good at service and you're good at install and you're good at all the different things, you're probably not going to find a guy who's good at all those things. But you can find someone who's a good sales guy. Well, that's cool, but you're going to need a different guy to install it. Well, that's okay. So you're going to end up with a couple of guys to create what you've been doing. And nothing wrong with that, but you have to realize that as part of your plan, and then go recruit the people you need and then put them into training so that they get better and do the processes and things the way you want to. So let's talk real quick about how the numbers kind of play into all these different things. So when we're setting numbers, and that one of the questions is, how much do you need to sell to come out to break even based on what your costs are and what your overhead is? And so we're going to talk about break even, and we'll talk about a 10% net. You can always work it out for more numbers, 20% net or whatever you want to do. But how much do you need to sell to beat your break even, or to meet your break even? So again, we're going to talk about the accounting equation. This comes up a lot again. So revenue, money coming in, direct cost, money going out because you sold something. Gross profit, when you subtract it, that's where people think they got the profit, but it ain't the profit. That's just the gross profit. Meaning I bought some air conditioners, I sold them for this price, and I got the money left over. Overhead, that's the money that what it costs you to be in business, even if you don't sell anything. So in a given month or whatever, you have lease payments on trucks, and you have insurance and phone bills and office space and maybe some office help that's going to get paid whether you sell anything or not. Those things are overhead, and there can be a big long list of those. And then of course, after you subtract out, you get the net profit, or the bottom line. This is the bottom. So of all of these things, one of them is relatively stable, meaning it's not moving all the time every day as things happen in the business, and that's the overhead. Now, the overhead can move a little bit. So for example, if you get really busy and you drive your trucks around more, your fuel bill can go up, and it's part of the overhead, so you can end up with some of that moving, or potentially some of your insurance costs could go up because of higher payroll or whatever. But it's a fairly stable number. It doesn't swing by like 70% in a month if you suddenly sell a lot of stuff or don't sell a lot of stuff. The revenue, if you sell more, it just goes up and down. The direct cost goes up and down depending on how much you sell. Of course, gross profit changes because those two change, and then of course the net profit, because all that's changing. So the overhead is a key number. It's a number that is, again, fairly stable. So we're going to use that number to figure out how much do we need to sell up here to cover the number down here. Okay, so I pulled up some numbers from a sample company. We've got companies all over the place, and this company has an overhead of $18,000 a month. That might sound familiar to a lot of folks that have a company with 3-4 employees, someplace around there. So $18,000 a month is what they have to cover to break even. They got to make enough down here at net so that this becomes zero if they've paid the overhead. Okay. Now, we're going to do this with a scenario of a couple pricing theories based on equipment that costs $2,500. So in the direct cost is equipment as part of the direct cost. So if you're paying $2,500 for a furnace, condenser, pad, line set, and air, and coil, for a basic equipment package, if you're paying $2,500, and let's say that this company has decided that they're going to sell that unit for $6,250. And that's their average, and that's how they're selling it. Okay, $6,250. In order to meet the overhead of $18,000, if you're selling at $6,250, you gotta sell $76,000, $76,889 this month in order to break even. Now it's almost $1 million a year company just to break even, because $83,000 is $1 million, and this is 76. If you break that out into a number of units, they're going to sell 12 units, 12.3 units of installs like that in order to break even. Now, if they price it at $7,500, go up a little bit, now you're going to sell 59,000. So the number goes down. This number goes up. This one goes down. And you have to sell 7.8 units, so 8 units. So, or here it's 12, or here it's 8, fewer units, but you break even again. And then if you sell that same package of equipment for $10,000, now you got to sell 39,000. So it's like less than half as much, and you only got to sell 4 units. So then the question becomes, for planning purposes, okay, I've got my numbers and my pricing. Now I'm into my sales and marketing. How do you sell for this price and not that price? Well, you have to decide how your company's going to be run, what you're going to offer customers besides the equipment. You know, what is your company about? What's your culture? All the things that customers are looking for. Like, think of restaurants. Hey, I mean, you know, I can sell beef. I can sell it at a McDonald's drive-thru for $4 or $5, or I can sell it as a steak at a really high-end steakhouse. Both are made out of a cow. 2 different experiences for the customer, and that's how you have to decide how you want to run your business. So you make those choices. Now, if you want to make a 10% net, the numbers get scarier, because the 6250 guy, he had to sell, remember, 76,000 to break even. He's now got to sell 119, almost $120,000 in a month. That's 19 units in order to do that. So, and if we scroll over to the other end, okay, if you want to make a 10% net at 10K, you only got to sell 51,000, again, less than half. It's 5 units instead of almost 20. So that leads to, remember, our marketing problem, okay, and our sales process. Let's assume, just for the sake of a conversation, that we have a 50% closing rate. So in order to sell those 20 units, he's got to talk to like 40 people this month in order to get 20 people to say yes and actually install 20. This guy's got 5. He's only going to talk to like 10 people. So this guy has a bigger marketing problem. He needs more customers ringing the phone all the time. So again, this is a business planning cycle, how you figure these things out. And there's a lot of folks stuck down in this lower half because of various reasons. That's just the way they've always done it. They're a little bit afraid of how to change. They don't know how to figure the business plan out. All of those things like that, and it all interlocks, because again, if you're trying to install 20 some units instead of 5, you got a recruiting and training problem too. You got to recruit, train, hire a lot more folks, spend a lot more money, and you're not even making that much. So in the end, there's a big process that goes on in here with the numbers and the pricing and the plan and that. And so what I'm going to do, I mean, I usually keep these videos to fairly short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a planning workshop. I've done this a couple times before, but this time I'm going to do like a comprehensive planning workshop with all the pieces in it. Before, when I've done it, I've done just on the pricing, just on the numbers. I'm going to do it this Saturday. I'm going to do it on a Saturday because I figured it's probably the time when most of folks that are in our industry might have a couple hours free on a weekend. I'm going to do it at noon Eastern, Saturday, July 21st, coming up here this weekend. And we're going to spend an hour to 2 hours going over how to build all the different pieces of this in more detail than what I'm going through here. And we'll kind of use numbers like this. In fact, I may even just use these same numbers because it's a good example for how to figure it out. But I'll show you how to figure out your business plan and what the pieces are that you may be missing. So in order to do that, it's going to be a Zoom call, and you'll need to register because I need to send you the email, because that's the way Zoom works. I need to send you a link to log into the Zoom call. So in order to do that, I'll post a link here in the description also that you can get to this. I'll post a link that you can get to the page where you can register, but it's tedgravlin.com/planning-workshop. So planning workshop, again, it's Saturday coming up, the 21st, or the 31st rather, of July, and we're going to spend a couple hours going through the whole plan. How do you set it up? We'll do it real quick, easy, simple, and show how to use some of the numbers and things and how it all locks in together and how it ties and back into the other pieces. So if you want to do that, sign up. It's free, no cost, and we'll talk soon.